Alright, this is Lab 1.1, Part 2, Exercise 5-11 for the CAD methods. And it starts on page 201 in your book, and we're supposed to draw this orthographic shape. And we're supposed to use a couple of different things to do this. So, just like exercises 1 and 2 that we've already done, we're going to start off with start a new drawing using the ACAD WDT, the drawing template, and it should still be set as the default down here. Right there, AutoCAD DWT. I'm just going to start the new drawing. Now, create this figure, number 2. Turn off all the drawing tool buttons on the status bar. Number 3. Number 4, click on the down arrow of the right object snap button and blah, blah, blah. Now, here's what they want us to do. There are running object snaps. All things that you draw have an object snap. So a circle has things that you can snap to. Lines have object snaps you can snap to, like endpoints and midpoints. Centers go on circles, and there's a lot more. Where lines cross, circles cross lines, and lines cross lines. Those are intersections, and it's asking us to adjust some of those settings. So those object snaps are in a couple of different places so that you can access them. You can use an object snap by right-clicking, shift right-clicking, and you can see the endpoint, midpoint, intersections, centers, quadrants, and a lot more. You can also, just like we did the snap and the grid, the D settings. In the D settings, snap, grid, we used these before. Now, snap is not the same thing as running object snaps. Over here, we have the object snaps. Now, this is where we manage our running object snaps. And right now, the running object snaps, you can turn them on and off with F3. You can have some running object snap. You can tracking, so it'll help project and track different things on the screen. I'm going to turn that off too. So right now they're turned off, and the only ones that are selected, so if we were in the middle of a drawing and we're working, we could hit F3 right here at the top of your keyboard, and we would turn on and off the ability to use these running object snaps. So the directions tell me from the shortcut, open up the drafting settings in the dialog box and clear all of them. So if I clear all of them, I can turn running object snaps on and off all day long, and it'll never try to select an endpoint or a midpoint or an intersection. So even if it's on and there's none selected, then it's not going to do anything. So what it says is it says clear all the running object snaps that you may have already set. So we did that. And we're going to click on endpoint, midpoint, and intersection. Midpoint, and not the insertion, but the intersection. So here are this is what it's telling us to do, and this is what we did: endpoint, midpoint, intersection. Now, once I say OK, it looks like nothing's happened, but we've changed some system variables inside of AutoCAD that'll help us draw. So it wants us to draw this shape using the X-line command. X-line horizontal, and then X-line vertical. So right here, number 7 and 8, and number 11 and 12. Now, that's a little difficult because on this page they're not showing us where the drawing is or how big it's going to be. That's over here. We're on page 202. But on 201 is where it shows us actually how big the part is. So it's 2 inches on the top, 3.5 inches at the bottom and up the side. So we're going to have to refer back to this page a little bit. And it wants us to draw this using the X-line command. So let's look ahead a little bit and see what we're supposed to be creating. And it looks like that's all we're supposed to create, is that single view of that shape. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to page 201 where I have this. And we're going to see how to create this. So I think probably the easiest thing is going to be to say D settings. Whoops, let me click. There we go. these settings in AutoCAD and go back to my snap and my grid. I'm going to set my snap to 1/2 of an inch because we don't have anything less than a 1/2 inch measurement on my drawing here. So 1/2 inch is just fine. I'm going to turn it on. So the grid is going to be set to a 1/2 inch. That's going to be turned on. I'm going to say, oh, and I'm going to turn off display the grid beyond the limits so I can see my drawing area. Look at that. I'm just going to take that, pan, and drag that up. Or if you press your mouse wheel, you can drag that around. Okay. So now, I'm going to draw this right here. So I'm going to use the X line, and I get some choices down here at the bottom of the screen. What do I want to do? I want a horizontal X line. I'm just going to place that right here on that major grid line. Click. Okay. And then it says it's 3.5 inches tall, so let me just count. 1/2, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5 inches. Okay, I now have, now the thing with the X line, in the other two exercises we were drawing with a line. Now those are really line segments. The X line is more of what we would call in geometry a line because it goes on forever and ever and ever. So it's a construction line. AutoCAD considers it a construction line until we trim it and make use of it. So let's try this. Let's try X line and vertical, VER. And I'm just going to place that. We'll place that on that major grid line right there. And I'll zoom in. And that works good. So let's see how the others work. Let's see. X line. Enter. Offset. Offset is a modified function in X line. It's also a command by itself. So what it does is it says, okay, what do you want to do? I said I want to offset. I want to offset through how far? Well, let me look. Right here it says my part is 3.5 inches wide, or in length. It's right here. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to type 3.5. Enter. I'm going to pick my X line. I'm going to pick it over here. Now you can see I have this box is where my shape is going to fit in. So if you remember from the other ones, you can use the trim command right here, or I just like to type TR, trim, enter, and you can just pick all the lines you want to be shorter. And they'll get short. Now I just have my box to work with. So a little bit outside of the directions, I'm going to say, I'm just going to use the offset command. And you'll notice it's kind of the same as when I did it inside the X line command, except this time I used offset all by itself. And I'm going to say 2, because it says right there 2, and it says right there 2. So I'm going to come over here, offset 2, enter. I'm going to click, click. Now I need to pay attention to this. It's 2 inches from here to here. See that? Right? 2 inches from that point to that point. And then I want to do it again from here to here. So I'm going to do it from here to here. So click, click. Okay. I have some new intersections. So I'm going to use the line command from this point. Now watch this. I'm going to turn off my grid and my snap. Okay, so now the cursor is going to move freely. And I'm going to draw a line, and I'm going to turn on my running object snaps. Now, if I scroll in here, you can see if I can grab an endpoint, and grab an endpoint. Now that endpoint that I'm showing there is from that vertical line on the left. This endpoint is from the horizontal line on the top. So it's the same point, but it's from two different sources. Right here is an endpoint from this vertical line. And the reason it's like that is because we turned on running object snaps and we told it we wanted to use endpoints. So I can click this endpoint to this endpoint. I can scroll out. I can erase. Or you could use the tool and the ribbon, erase. Click, click, and hit enter. And they go away. Now these you can't erase. These are whole line segments, and they're with an intersection right here. So what I have to do, I'm going to trim, enter, enter, click, click, and I think if we go back to the book, that's what we should have. And then that ends Lab 1.1, Part 2, Exercise 5-11.